My son is flying back in. He's on the airplane now from Florida, my son.
Oh, is he?
Landing at Dayton at 8:17. And I had a guy that was gonna pick him up, and then he backed out at the last minute. So you may just have to wait an hour, because I don't know, will we be done here at 7 or 9? I
It'll
mean,
take you 45 minutes to an hour to get there.
oh, yeah, and so at the last
I
second.
know you were Heights.
My sister-in-law is gonna get him, so.
You were Heights.
Say, I got a friend that
45
drives
minutes.
Uber.
Florida.
He can get there in a
In Florida?
heartbeat.
Yeah, I would too. I'm down for that.
I was panicking. What am I gonna do? And I
Yep.
think the airport
Mom.
is safe enough to sit there for 2 hours if you need to, right? So,
This is the revised one.
Tell her, that's what happens when you're an adult now.
you gotta figure it out. Just don't
Oh,
walk.
It always works out.
Well, my buddy said, he's telling me you have to leave at a certain time. To do that,
Hey, how you doing?
I mean, he's used to city council in South Solon, which
You
is
know
a
what,
little
you s-
different.
You have to go to George Mathis. George Mathis.
So I seem to have been bestowed with an amended piece of
Come in and get
legislation.
Rod Bell, I think it was, I need to get up and walk out. During the meeting.
I'm gonna assume this needs to go to you.
She's something.
This is what we're voting on tonight. It's been amended because there was a property description.
Anybody laugh, he said, he's the only one, the way he was, just.
It wasn't
fit
wrong.
in.
It was
Off the
left
shelf.
off inadvertently in the
It's
first
awful, but he was such,
1,000 readings that we had on this
so,
one.
he'd, people get bad luck and stuff, he'd go buy your land, do all kinds of stuff like that. It's just, you get to do anything with these big ones?
Well, I think when we get to the discussion about that, I think you should lead it.
Discussion.
About the suggestions and the,
Oh, when we get the legislation, yeah.
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 And then when we talk about the finance meeting, in that agenda was the plans to the municipal advisor. I'm gonna leave that for you. I'll give my report, but I'll leave that for you.
Yeah, I talked to Jennifer. She said that even if they're not required to, historically, they've done an RFQ, and I let Andy know that, so she's on vacation, so I didn't text her. Like, we can get to that.
That's fine.
You got your haircut,
Did. It was long, long overdue.
you can make a wig out of it.
Lisa, I'm gonna ask this question now before the meeting starts. I know you've been in other organizations. Are you okay, or do you want some, do you want to sit beside anyone else in case you need guidance?
Oh, well,
Were you good with, John's right here.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna bite you.
I can ask questions if I need some guidance.
Sure.
And I'll
Am-
tell him if
am
stuff's
I-
wrong.
Am I deep enough in this to vote on
Yes.
things?
No,
I mean, just because I'm still,
these won't be voted on.
Okay.
That one might. What about 208? Dan?
Rich, all right.
Yeah, that one's
Josh,
ready.
how are you, buddy? We can do that one tonight.
Is that the only one of them?
and it seems to me like we're working on these two.
Yeah.
Everybody's
How
pretty
long
much
is it
ready
gonna
to
take yet?
pass them.
Yeah.
We should have them ready by next
So,
time.
so this one very specifically is, in
Okay.
order to make a piece of land available for
As long
this
as it's
type of
right, I like it.
legislation, because the city has to have owned it
Try
at some
very
point.
hard to
That's
make
So
sure
been
it's
the
right.
transfer
toughest
it
thing
to
I think
us.
I've ever seen in
Okay.
27 years.
Legally, we transfer it
It's-
back to them.
It's
It's
been
quite-
fun. It's
quite
been quite an
involved.
education
Us
for me.
saying we don't need
I
it,
bet.
so they can do something with it. We could hold it hostage and say, give us some money if you want it back, but that's not how it works, right?
Yeah, okay,
And then you are the sponsor of one of these.
yes. Just to get bids for
Yeah,
hauling, what I understand is hauling our trash away from
Right.
the dump.
right. So there'll be,
That I understand.
there'll be motions to suspend the three reading rule,
2011.
right? You don't have to vote yes. That's- you vote-
Explain that a little bit.
You vote the way you want.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
There'll be some things we're a member short, so that may,
Who's gonna talk about it?
that may.
Yeah, I will. Since Andy's not here. Since that meeting.
Okay, good deal.
Service.
Patience on it?
I took notes. I did not get my minutes finished. I didn't realize until last night. those.
So on the way here, I was like, oh, I didn't print out the agenda. But luckily. I know, that's what I was. No, I was gonna have Rex print me off a copy.
Do what now?
You won't be here tonight, will they?
No,
It might be good.
take it a little. Take some time.
No, he didn't tell me that. And I've
Remember calling yesterday.
Right.
see, I started writing minutes. Look at my notes. Good Lord. Well, if you're comfortable doing them, you can do them. Yes, if you don't mind, because I haven't narrowed it down.
Once you get to a meeting, you feel a little
Yeah,
more,
yes, thank you, Brent.
feel a little more at home.
Well,
It's
and,
scary the first time.
I was looking at this one. Bill's notes are amazing. Just, I guess this is what,
Yeah. Sometimes you don't have to read the whole thing, you just kind of summarize everything too. Like on the one I just did, and the public service, I did a police report. And he does,
okay. Well, I got myself mixed up. I was at so many meetings that night,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, we had
and
four
they
of
were
them.
smooth until finance committee, and that one just blew my mind. I was
With
like,
all
what?
those people there, it was kind of,
Oh, yeah, I was,
I don't even know what you had that night.
trying to get things
You
done.
doing great?
But that's more down the road type of thing.
I'm okay, you?
Come on. There was somebody trying to start something.
Yeah, yeah.
One a week, one a day. I bet you've been busy with all these wins.
You know, West.
Bet you've been busy with all these
Is that
wins.
the man who just walked in?
Yeah.
Haven't been too bad, honestly.
Yes,
You're like, I got
yeah,
He's
he,
a nice guy.
he was at the
Yeah, I thought he was.
finance committee.
Yeah, right at midnight, right before midnight.
It's really, did a visual.
Yeah, right before midnight.
There you go. Wow.
Got her, thank you.
Yeah, these chairs are like, they're alive, aren't
So
they?
the next meeting will be April already.
Yes. No.
Andy, that must not be there.
Yeah, well, I do have an email set up, so I'm getting those.
First time in all my years of council I've ever been between two women. It's usually
You
just-
are lucky.
It's usually just one woman on.
Yeah,
Betty
well.
was on and, Fire Chief's wife. She was on for a while. I think that's like 2 women.
Well,
So the agenda,
this is a good time.
where's the rest of the agenda? That's what I Did you, that's what
I
I
got
thought.
one.
You get an extra one?
I got,
I don't need, okay. That one's weird.
I'm looking at mine online.
Oh, okay. I usually follow along, but you didn't do the back of that one.
And I have notes
Most of us,
for myself.
Yeah. Yesterday was a little nicer.
yes, this happens.
Yeah, it's Ohio.
No, it's as long as it is snow. I have more white Easters. I have white Christmases in my life.
Probably.
Next year it's in March, next year Christmas, Easter is.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone could please stand for the pledge and a moment of silent reflection, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Since the clerk is not here this evening, I'll go ahead with roll call. Councilman Eads,
Here.
Councilman McDaniels,
Here.
Councilman Hayes,
Present.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Here.
Councilman Stahl,
Present.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Here?
Councilman Hitt. Okay. Everybody get a chance to take a look at the minutes? Any questions, concerns? Okay. Not hearing any. All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. No public hearings. We don't have any communications or announcements tonight. We do have a couple of audience concerns. We'll start with Nancy Drenig. If you could please state your name and address for the record, please.
Nancy Brennan, 169 East High Street. That's here in London.
That was Nancy Drenning, 159 East High. You weren't quite up there.
169 East
Okay,
High.
thank
East
you.
High, right. It's actually Downing Circle, so we're a little community that's right there. Our neighbor, I actually represent 11 other families, households, but our neighbor is breeding beagles, and he has outdoor kennels. And as you know, beagles can be very vocal. So we've been working with the barking that goes on 24/7. And Eve just told me that is going there. He is going to be charged with an ordinance because we have 2 city ordinances that deal with barking animals. So my question is that one reason I want to come here is are outdoor kennels, breeding businesses allowed in the city? I've only been here for 2 years, so I don't know if is there a limit to dogs you can have? He's got like 7 dogs, and that's not counting the puppies. You know, is there something, and it just where he's located, one kennel is 25 feet from my bedroom window. So it's, is there any type of restrictions at all?
There is a set number. I'd have to look
Okay.
and see, but yes, there is
Yeah, Steve Human's been out. Collateral damages, last fall, he was at the other end of the property. From there, the dogs were digging big holes underneath the fence to the other neighbors and running through their gardens. So he moved, bless his heart, he built kennels and moved them to the other side of the property, which was by our side of the property. And we have one neighbor who, the starlings came for the dog food. And she'd wake up in the morning and her car is just covered with bird droppings. And this is 9-degree temperature, so it's hard to clean your windshield. And so there's just the neighbor said that the smell and the flies were an issue in this last summer. So in the middle of a city, it just seems not a good place to have a kennel.
right. And you have been in touch with Steve Hume?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And I imagine he should be following procedure to,
Right, well, he turned it over and it is, but that was weird, that was dealing with the barking. He put bark collars on these dogs, so now all they do is howl. They don't bark, they just cry all the time. I don't know what's worse. But, so I just didn't, I don't know if, the owner just got very angry and said he was just gonna add more dogs, so, I guess.
I'd file another complaint with Steve. Tell him
Okay.
you think there's
After, see what this one
more
follows
dogs.
through.
I mean, I'd go ahead and pursue it now. Can you see from your backyard?
Oh, yeah, I look right down that.
Okay, so like
yeah.
you could give Steve permission to get pictures or whatnot, or you
Oh,
can even send
okay.
pictures
Right,
of that. Rex?
It's already in the process. Eve said that the law director's office informed her today that charges are going to be filed against him. I mean, it's a process that they'll have to go through,
Yeah.
but it should be remedied.
so that would just be for the noise, though? I mean, with the collateral damage that comes from?
I don't know about that. I mean,
Okay.
I'd have to check the zoning. I'm going to guess he can't run a business at, breeding dogs and raising them. I'm sure he was selling them, so he can't operate a business
Okay.
probably in a residential district. I have to
That's
make
what
sure.
I was kind of wondering,
Yeah.
and,
So there's probably several issues that are being
okay.
addressed.
That they, oh, okay, that they would just automatically look at that when they were doing it, okay. Okay, I thought maybe they were just dealing with the noise and,
I would suggest if you have questions about the nature of the charges and what kind of factual underpinning are being considered, you should probably talk to the law director.
Okay.
She's on vacation, so
Okay.
give it a couple of days.
okay, will do, all right, thank you.
Ma'am, did you say there was 7 dogs there, not including the puppies?
Oh, yes, yes, he's got 2 house dogs, he has 4, he had 4, there's, 6, and then there's another dog, I think it's an English Springer, but it's not a beagle. He's added that one after, we had words, he's adding more dogs, so that one showed up. That one doesn't bark though.
Okay.
That's a nice dog.
So ma'am, also, you said you have ordinances, are those within 618?
61807, and then a 63406.
634, okay. I mean, 618 seems to be most of that section.
Okay.
634, noise control, I see that now. So most of that seems to be, I'm trying to scan through here and see if I can see anything about the number of dogs off the top of my head. I don't see that yet. I don't want to hold everybody up just because, my keyword was dog, and there's about 7,000 of those in this section. So I didn't put number of dogs. So, okay, I just wanted to check with that. Thank you.
And his plan is not, I think this last one, he did sell 2, there's 3, he did sell 2 of them. But his plan is to raise them to train, he was going to train them to hunt and then sell them. So that means that they stick around a lot longer than just little 8-week puppies that go. So far I've only seen 1 puppy that is kept, but one of the females has been missing, so I think she's in the house with another litter. But boy, they can guard her for 8 hours straight. How is that even possible? It's amazing that they can bark that much.
It's in their nature.
I know that. Yeah, I love when you look it up, they say they're very vocal. Yeah, that's the understatement.
Excuse me, I have a quick question. Is the owner of the dogs, does he live in one of the condos?
No, he lives.
Okay.
His property is next, I don't know if you wanted to see the layout.
Okay. I just thought the HOA should have some rules in place to cover
Right.
that,
So,
but
yeah, so
but
I'm
he's
gonna
outside.
represent him.
Okay.
In fact, we have a meeting next week, and that's why I wanted to come update them on the noise, because it echoes, it's very, it echoes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Anita Likens. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello. Anita Likens, 157 East First Street, here in London. I wasn't really planning to speak, so I don't have a beautiful little presentation. I was here last city council meeting on March the 6th. I attended Councilor Hayes' safety meeting, so just wanted to, a couple things that I've updated, and I wanted to kind of give you a sense of what those are. And I did want to thank Chief Nickel, you were great. I've got several public requests for information out there on policy and that sort of thing, and he's been very prompt at getting me information. I don't have anything to update on that. When I do, I'd like to meet and just kind of debrief what I might see or what I might have with both of you, if that would be possible, and I'm referring to Councilor Hayes and Chief Nickel. I also wanted to say, City Council, thanks so much for being so proactive about just, we've got to do something about this situation. The contract that's being formed, I understand there was a meeting this morning and they were talking about the contract for the towing companies that we talked about on March the 6th and March the 11th. And the contract that you're putting together, I understand there's some changes going on with it. But what I'm talking about tonight, there might be a couple other things that you might want to consider adding to that contract. Because one of the things that I was looking at is there's something called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And what that does is it's DOT, the Department of Transportation for the federal government for interstate, when you go out in and out of the state of Ohio, and intra-state, when it's just inside the state, such as towing company carriers. Well, they do have monitoring on that, and the monitoring's different, and it should be, because one is more complex, who's going to be looking at safety and standards for all that. For those that are intrastate, such as towing companies and what are happening here, they only have to report biannually, which means every 2 years in a given month, depending upon when they got their initial license. Now, if they are not reporting as they should, anybody, according to the FMCSA, and I talked to Jacob over there today, when they are pulled over, that information should be checked. And that information on their biannual reporting and what they call a VMT, which is a vehicle mileage tracking. If they aren't under 49 CFR, the Code of Federal Regulation 390.19/4/B, and I've got copies of this so I can pass these out to you, they are subject to penalties. They are subject to revoking of their DOT number that has to be on the side of their trucks and everything. Considering that the particular trucking company that we were talking about on March the 6th and March the 11th that charged $3,500 to tow my car away from that little accident scene, they filed in 21. There hasn't been a report since then. They are in non-compliance with that. If, as I understand it, if the city pulls that truck over, they should be looking for this, and they should be notifying them that they are in non-compliance if they aren't already aware. So these are things that maybe you'd want to put in your contract if you're using them for rotational purposes within your pool of towing contractors. You should be checking on those things. I mean, State Highway Patrol, federal, whatever it is, these are things that should be looked at. Another thing that I happen to notice, and you might check on your invoice copies that I gave you, you'll notice that the tax that I was charged, or my insurance company was charged on that, was 7.5%. What is the tax rate for Madison County? We know it's not 7.5%. One of the things is that's probably not a good thing that taxes are being charged that are inappropriate for the county that the service was provided in. I'm also talking to some people on that as well. So maybe in the contract you should have something about who is charging what rate of taxes and how are they supposed to be doing it, and is there a cap on what they can charge the clients and the customers that are being used by the city for towing purposes. So again, I'm still doing my legwork, I'm still checking, I'm still following up. I will pass around for you, as I said, the copies of the specific for the carrier that I pointed out. Their actual page you can actually get, and I wrote across the top, it's called a safety area that you can get on their website. You can type in their DOT number and it pops right up. And it's quite clear, it says, the information below reflects the content of the FMCSA Management Information System as of 3/19/2025. Carrier registration information outdated, carrier VMT outdated, and the mileage and everything is blank on that. Their notice of when they put in, their ruling then under the title, that's there. And then I also provided you a little page for your reference and your reading pleasure as from AI, what are some of the penalties and considerations that you might want to be considering in if somebody has not complied with the biannual reporting requirements under their DOT number. Any questions? Okay,
Thank you for doing that.
very good. And don't
Appreciate
forget
that.
to look at your invoice for what the taxes were. I'll pass these up here. And I made 2 copies of the one document, and there's 8 copies of the other.
Okay.
This one, there's only 2. That's the actual site for federal regulation. And this is the safety site.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Oh, by the way, this is our anniversary. Gary and I are going to have champagne after this, if anybody wants to come over. All right.
Happy anniversary.
Happy Ann-
Okay, up next, we have June Flynn. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is June Flynn. My address is 7810 Lily Chapel, Georgesville Road in London, actually out in Lily Chapel. I attended the last city council meeting, and I just really wanted to kind of make a formal statement back to you all about what I observed when I was here. Again, my name is June Flynn, and my husband Jerry and I are own Flynn Towing. And we thank you for letting us address the council this evening. In the past few weeks, since last council meeting, we've had a lot of time to think and consider our own business practices in light of the issue that was brought at the last meeting by Anita Likens. I think we can all agree that it was a very unfortunate situation that was discussed at the last meeting. And since then, questions and issues have been asked and reviewed and discussed by many of us. I'd never been to a city council meeting before, and I was happy to learn that any citizen can come forward with a problem and be heard by the council. At the last meeting, the excessive billing practices of Damien's Towing caused everyone concern. First reaction by some, even some of the council members, was that he should be removed from the rotation immediately and never be allowed to return. While that might seem harsh, practices such as his are damaging to more than just the citizens of London. They hurt the insurance industry, the towing industry, and unfortunately, they cause folks to automatically have their guard up whenever a reputable company is trying to assist them in a time of need. As Anita mentioned, the police department is working on a towing agreement with all the towing companies in their rotation. We had a meeting this morning with the chief, and I think it was a good meeting, and everyone was allowed to be heard. Well, that is a great idea, and hopefully that'll be in place soon. What you might know is that what you might not know is that there are already regulations that towing companies must adhere to simply to be on the road. And as Anita mentioned, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is one of those such organizations. The biennial reporting is a safety matter, one that we're not sure Damien's Towing is taking very seriously. And perhaps this is another check and balance that should be put in place by the police department to ensure that the companies that tow for them are 100% compliant, even with the federal government. I know it's a lot to ask them to be checking it. They have a lot of things to do, but I think it's important to make sure that the towing companies are adhering to these federal regulations. It's a matter of safety. And again, we thank you for hearing our thoughts on the matter, and we hope that our input will give you insight as to how this situation is affecting more than just Damien's Towing. It's affecting us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go on to committee reports. Greg?
The Personnel, Budget, and Finance Committee met on March 11th. A number of items to discuss tonight. Let's talk about what the auditor's update was to begin with. The overall revenue for the month, month to date was $6,368,455 roughly. This includes the $4 million we've received for the bond, so that's quite a big number right there, but that was $4,050,000, $90,000 from the bond that's included in that. The expenses were $2,429,455. Overall, you're going to see just about the same numbers overall for the year. Revenues, $7,659,272. Expenses, $3,911,006, or $7 if we want to round that. The tax director also gave her update for both the month and the year, they're down compared to last year. The general fund's down about 7%, the fire 7.2%, the fire fund's down 7.3%. She advised that there's been some issues with the mail. And there are things not being addressed correctly, or even if they were addressed correctly, not getting to residences, or being told that addresses did not exist at that time. So she's been up to speak to the postmaster a number of times. They're hoping that this gets straightened out. And she also mentioned there was about $150,000 payment that they were expecting that hasn't been submitted yet. They were thinking that may be a mail issue also. So hopefully that gets straightened out soon. Couple things that are going to come through the service committee. We'll let them handle that. Stormwater, under new business, stormwater increase in appropriations. We're going to see that later. Here's just a quick update. While they're doing that work for the Third Ward project, Bill has come across a couple things, couple culverts that need to be replaced. So we're adding $50,000 or appropriating $50,000 right out of the stormwater budget. There's plenty of money there. We'll have an article about the TIRC, the Tax Incentive Review Committee. We'll discuss that later. We discussed a possible HR specialist for later. That's not coming before council at this time. And a municipal financial advisor, Ms. Trainer, is going to address that in a little bit. And we also talked about the tax credits, which is still on our agenda. And I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brent?
Yeah, on the 11th, I attended a public service and a public safety meeting, and I got the reports from the department heads. I'll start with the safety, the fire chief, and departmental EMS training, hospice care through Ohio Health. Departmental EMS training was canceled with Madison Health, and then participated in judging chili cook-off at Job and Family Services. Participated in funeral for Tri-County firefighter. Hosted several students for ride times for tolls and grant paramedics class. That's about it for the fire department. And then Parks and Rec, they have a spring volleyball. Games will start March 26th. And Kelling Park will be hosting a 21+ Easter egg hunt on Friday, April 18th. Kiwanis is having their annual egg hunt on Saturday, April 12th at Kelling Park, starting at 10 a.m. Forgotten Ones MC is having their egg hunt at Merrimack Park Saturday, April 12th at 11. And it looks like the project to replace the flooring inside the main pool building will start April 14th and should wrap up by April 24th. Opening day is slated for Saturday, May 24th. And for adult programs, they have ballroom dancing lessons, cornhole league, and that's it for the Parks and Rec, the street department here. Like Greg was talking about, need to increase funding for stormwater founding. And there are a lot of replacements on the buildings and domes. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Rich?
I had a Public Safety Committee meeting on March 11th. All were there. We approved the minutes from the February 11th meeting on a 3-0 vote. Under Fire and EMS report, Chief East presented his report to the committee. Mr. McDaniel just presented that to you. We had 226 calls for service in 1 month, and that's a significant jump in calls for service. Under the police chief's report, Chief Nickel presented his report. We talked about the new contract that trying to bring into being, reference towing companies. Chief Nickel also spoke on department updating of the towing services that they use. Chief Nickel talked about Section 209.03 under costs for public records. We'll be adding, we voted 3-0 to bring this to council. Be adding a subsection to entail cost involved with preparing law enforcement video records. Mr. Stahl will be presenting that to council. That's ordinance 13125, I believe. Under Safety Service Director, we talked about registration of contractors for a full year and changing registration fees. That will also be coming up before you tonight, and I believe that's ordinance 132.25. And we voted 3-0 to bring that to council, and Mr. McDaniel will be sponsoring that. Under new business, we had none. Under old business, there's nothing to report on possible new streetlight cost for East High Street. Under public comment, Anita Likens spoke about her accident and charges that her insurance company made her aware of. The reason for the police getting involved with the changing the contracts around for tow truck drivers. And we adjourned at 6:27. Next public safety meeting will be April the 8th at 6 p.m., 2025 in the conference room. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon?
I attended Personnel Finance Committee meeting on March 11. One of the speakers that we had there was a gentleman by the name of Andrew Brossart with a company called Bradley Payne. They are offering municipal advisory services. Specifically, I had requested he come to sort of pitch the idea of having a municipal advisor to the city when it comes to administration of the TIFs, both the residential and the non-residential TIF that are still under council's consideration. Mr. Brossart explained that a municipal advisor does offer, and at least in their firm, offer basically three separate functions. That would be municipal advisory, which is dealing with securing a bond, pricing a bond, structure a bond, underwriting, or actually not underwriting the bond, but arguing with the underwriter about those terms. And then their second service was tracking TIF districts for clients, and that includes setting up the monitoring, programming, and doing projections, and not only with regard to revenue stream but also each property is performing as anticipated, that you're hitting your target deadlines with these various TIF districts. And then the final service that they did offer is long-term capital planning. He also explained that their particular company has been engaged and is currently providing services to Marysville, Lancaster, Circleville, Dublin, Grove City, Hilliard, Springfield, Dayton, and certain areas in Cincinnati. We did discuss what kind of services would be specific to London, and those be focused on the TIFs that are anticipated to be in place here in the next couple weeks. And to that end, the firm would lay out how funds are to be expended, how they're to be reimbursed. He would work very closely with the county auditor, ensuring that the system is set up properly, that there aren't any invoices or payments due that don't get made. And it can also assist with, the securing of other additional bonds as the project goes forward, provide record-keeping service, and again, the projection and oversight. There was a question as to whether the city should put out a request for qualifications, and I think that's what we ultimately will decide to do, so that we're not just hiring the first person that comes along, but seeking to review the qualifications of any other firms that might provide a similar service so that we can choose the one that's the best fit for the city. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. John?
London Police Division of the Public Safety Committee, March 11, 2025. We have one open officer position and are currently accepting applications through March 31. We continue to work with architecture firm USDA-RD and various engineering firms to complete the design and funding compliance documents of the new building. Design is expected to be completed very soon, with anticipated construction started in May. Changes in public records law allows appropriate changes for duplication of video recordings from body and cruiser cameras. They are proposing updates for City Ordinance 20903 to reflect the changes. Due to an unusual exorbitant towing bill brought to our attention by a resident, we are updating procedures for tow companies working with our agency. It will include an annual contract with the city and lists a general fee schedule. The changes will be made in our policy and not required legislation be enacted upon by council. The tow companies must be approved annually. They opened an account with Casey's gas station in an effort to save fuel costs by purchasing UNL 88 fuel at a substantially lower prices. Notable incidents: Officer Michael Combs and his partner Cento were praised by Clark County SO for assisting in locating a wanted suspect that was located in a residential garage in Springfield after fleeing deputies. Also stopped a vehicle on Maple Street Sunday evening, and the adult suspect then fled into the county and eventually entered West Jefferson. His vehicle was spiked by a West Jeff officer, and our officers boxed him in, ending the pursuit without injury or damage. The individual was charged with felony, fleeing, excluding, and jailed. He was wanted in Franklin County on various felony charges. There was no damage to cruisers, injuries sustained. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa? On to city official reports. Rex?
I got a few things. Rich was commenting about the, I believe it was Rich, commenting about putting in streetlights on High Street. I just so happened to get an email from Ohio Edison today with an estimate to put in 2 streetlights. Both lights, one at the intersection of Kenny and High Street, and then the other one is the, I don't remember the name of the street, the next street in toward town and High Street, at a cost of $10,547. That's estimated. He said that's just a ballpark figure. So I'll be bringing that to your committee next month. Also, the sanitation department is make sure that an announcement is made that everyone coming to dump at the sanitation department, when they bring items in, whether it's yard waste, building materials, recyclables, regular trash, everyone must report to the office. We're getting a lot of people, we're in the office, or they're in the office, busy, taking down information, and the cars just drive by and do the dumping on their own, and they don't stop and let us know anything. So that's going to be a subject, a topic to be discussed, and we're hoping to have a plan put together to make that a lot more difficult for them to drive by. And the Center Street project has been delayed. I think we're back working again, but they hit a unmarked gas line. It was potentially going to put us 2 to 3 weeks behind, but Bill was able to basically twist some arms and get the Columbia Gas in here to get those lines temporarily repaired so the project could continue. So just give you a heads up of what's taking so long with that project. It seems like it's one obstacle after another. That's all I got.
Kenneth, do you have any? On to old business, up for 8th reading, ordinance 207-24. Can I get a motion to read by title and number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 207-24, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, Andrew Hitt, and Greg Eads. An ordinance creating 19 incentive districts and declaring improvements to certain real property within the incentive districts to be a public purpose and exempt from real property taxation. Identifying certain public infrastructures improvements that once made, will benefit or serve the parcels in the incentive districts, requiring the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, establishing an incentive district public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of such service payments, authorizing payments to the Atlanta City School District and Tulsa Career and Technical Centers, and approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of a tax increment financing agreement with Tomcat LLC.
Okay, so 20724 is the residential area on the west side of 42. These and the other ordinances are still, we've been back and forth 4 weeks now, really just fine tuning some details located within the TIF agreement. So this ordinance should be ready for council's final vote by the next time we come up. We have one more meeting scheduled for next week, I believe, with all of the important players involved on this one, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So the recommendation is that we leave this on for one more meeting.
Any questions?
No, there was a mention, and I was hoping this would happen before we take action, is that someone from Frost, Brown, and Todd will come
Yeah,
and address council. So we may either need to go to executive session or have a work session, just so you can get all that information from
Who
them.
was planning on coming to the next council meeting?
Okay. I'm just giving you a heads up, President, that way everybody can get the information from the attorneys. This is what's happened. This is how it looks right now, so everybody knows what's going on.
All right, thank you. On to ordinance 208-24. Could I get a motion to read by title and number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 28-24, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, Andrew Hitt, and Greg Eads, an ordinance authorizing the city of London, Ohio to accept title to certain real property located within the city and immediately transfer title back to the current owner for purpose of implementing tax increment financing pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.41 and dispensing with the requirement that this resolution must be read on 3 different days pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 731-17A.
Okay, so this one has also been subject to the weeks and weeks of discussions. And this one, Mr. President, have an amended ordinance to read. The only modification to this amendment, to this ordinance, there was a certain parcel that should have been included in this property transfer that was inadvertently left off, that has been added. And the addition of a transfer and indemnification agreement, and that is only inuring to the city's benefit, whereas the prior property owners will continue to indemnify the temporary holdings of the city should anything run awry while the property is technically owned by the city. So this, I would suggest is ready for council to vote on this particular piece of legislation as amended.
Is there a motion to amend?
I'll make that motion to amend as so indicated.
Second.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through it now. Has the amended document, is that in front of council tonight? Do we have that in this packet?
You do.
I'm trying to scroll down to it to find it.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Okay, roll call on the amendment. Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 208-24 has passed. On to ordinance 209-24. Can I get a motion to read by title and number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 209-24, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, Andrew Hitt, and Greg Eads. An ordinance declaring the improvement of certain real property located in the city of London, Madison County, Ohio, to be a public purpose pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 5709.41, declaring such property to be exempt real property taxation, designating improvements that, once made, will directly benefit the parcels for which improvements is declared to be a public purpose, requiring annual service payments in lieu of taxes, establishing an urban redevelopment tax increment equivalent fund, authorizing the execution of a tax increment financing TIF agreement, and providing related authorizations pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 5709.41, 5709.42, 5709.43, 5709.832, and 5709.85.
Great, so this is the TIF that encompasses essentially the other half of the properties that are under consideration here. That is largely located to the other side of 42. We've been lovingly called the commercial TIF, was currently not slated for residential development, but at any rate, the same long-term discussions, tweaks, amendments have been undergoing with regard to this particular piece of legislation. Again, we have another meeting scheduled next week, hopefully to finalize all those things. The recommendations that this be left on for our next reading.
Anybody have any questions? On that? All right, we'll leave that on. Okay, up for a fourth reading, ordinance 111-25. Can I get a motion to read by title and number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 111-25, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, an ordinance amending section 874 of the codified ordinances. Okay. Since Andy's not here, we did have a work session last week on this. We are amending a couple things. The big thing is on 874.02C. I think this one's already been amended. We went from 72 hours to 78 hours.
That probably needs to be fixed. It looks like it's not in this document correctly.
The current document that you have, you have to scroll down to the event layout, and then all the new stuff is under the old event layout. And I did print off just the new stuff if you would like me to mention it to you also, if you weren't sure how you got it.
I've got it in front of me.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see it now.
yeah, that caught me at the space too.
Okay. And then 874.04A, we're amending that to vendor setup along the curb shall leave a minimum of 10 feet in between each vendor. This includes awnings, flags, signs, banners, and any other obstruction. This is if event has the vendors along the curbs. So just, there'll be 10-foot space in between, kind of show respect for the business owners. C, all setup shall be approved by the fire chief and police chief to approve for any possible obstructions to safety services and to verify compliance with ADA standards. And then E, stage placement shall be approved by fire chief. And those, what's going to be amended though, to all this.
So I know we didn't discuss these other items I'm about to bring up. They didn't seem to be part of that discussion the other night. But I've had discussions with a couple business owners that may or may not have had objections that they did not bring to council about a sidewalk event that may have happened. These are just suggestions whether we want to take action on these or not tonight. The first one is that request to host a sidewalk market should be made to the city by email or written request at least 28 days in advance. The reason for that is so that the city can then let, or that person doing that can let people know in enough time that if somebody wants to make an objection, they could do that. It was also suggested that the event organizer in Section B, the event organizer shall obtain written permission from property owners. That would eliminate any of the he said, she said, when someone comes in and said, I got permission from all the property owners, and somebody says, well, no, you didn't. I didn't approve that, or I didn't sign that. It was just a suggestion that we do that. And I would still, we've had this discussion in the past, and that was, I'm not sure how we fix this, but if someone does wish to object to an event, whether it's an event that's currently in place or a new event, how do they do that? And I don't know if we need to put that in here, or that's just part of the process in the application process. So someone may have a legitimate objection because of an event or something that's happening downtown. Other than that, if they want to object to that, how do they do that?
Eve?
This is on. Hi. I agree with all the things that you just said. That's actually part of the application process to have the sidewalk event. It will be if this passes and we do have the sidewalk events. This in front of you, like A and B, are a little switched. So the way that I had envisioned it was somebody that would want to have a sidewalk event would need to obtain written permission from the businesses, either paper or email. I don't mind. And then when they submit an application to host the sidewalk event, they need to attach those written permissions to that application. So we are able to verify, yes, these businesses are on board with having this event. No, this business did not say that you could have this in front of their event. And that is because of that feedback that we've also heard.
Okay.
And then to the point of people objecting, currently the process is to always email myself or email the admin or call or come in. If you would like, we can make like a virtual form for people to object to events. I'm not sure how appropriately utilized that would be.
Well, I think there needs to be a way that if you're a business owner and you may not be able to get to see someone in the city building during those business hours, that they should be able to file some type of an objection or at least a concern with that. So with what you just said, if you're going to change A and B around so that basically the permission has to be received before they come to ask the city for permission, and then the 14 days would be more appropriate at that point.
I agree.
Okay. And then I've voiced my concerns, and they sound like they've already been addressed.
So we need to amend then?
Nope,
Okay.
I don't believe so.
Perfect. Any other questions or concerns? Or council's wishes? We want to leave this on, or
This is the fourth reading, correct?
reading? Yep.
I think I'd like to ask, were your concerns met? Do you feel that this is a good middle ground for everybody? Okay. Mr. President, I move that we adopt.
Second.
Second.
Give me a second.
Okay, Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
No.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 111-25 has passed. On for a third reading, resolution 113-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 113-25, sponsored by Rich Hayes. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract. The city would like to contract with the county for dispatching services.
Chief Nickel, would you like to come up front?
No.
I just want to see if Any changes or anything, or is this still, everything still go on this, everything the way it's laid out?
Yeah, there's no more discussion, just waiting for the decision from council.
Okay.
No changes there.
Okay, if we keep the dispatching, it's going to cost us $412,786 for a new dispatching system. And then there's a $25,000 per year maintenance fee on that. Would you come out to $512,786? If we went with the county, the way this is set up right now, savings, take it in consideration, we start this in July, that's our target date. Savings over a 4.5-year period for the city would be approximately $1,373,625.49. After 2027, there's no cost. It will all be covered by the 9/11 tax levy renewal. There is a 180-day written notice on this by either party that it could be terminated, so we have some time there with that. And due to the fact that we can't seem to hire anybody, nobody wants to work, and the county's taking care of all of our night shifts plus one day shift now. And I think it would save us money in the long run. Any questions?
Is this going to be a continuing contract? So at the end of that time, whatever that time is that we have, the 3 years or 4 years, this is automatically going to renew at zero cost? Or can the county come back and say, well, now we have another expense, we need you to pay for dispatching now at whatever that number is once again?
Yeah, as I understand it, the contract doesn't end if there is that clause to where they can end it, and they could come up with the fee down the road 7 years. I don't know what the future cost would require that. I just want to clear one thing, Mr. Hayes. We haven't tried to hire full-time here lately for dispatch because we were at full staffing. The difficulty is finding somebody part-time for that, officer openings, vacancies. But I just want to clarify, we haven't tried to hire full-time. That's one of the reasons we're going to set for dispatch. It's the economic reason more than anything at this point.
That's my fault. I should have clarified that a little more clearly than I did. I apologize.
Any other questions?
No questions, just a statement. I still strongly feel that we should have our own dispatchers. I think there's value to that. I think there's value to the community. I think there's value to the community to walk in. If you need to talk to someone, that you can walk in and talk to someone and be directed. It may not be an emergency. You may just want to talk to a police officer about an ongoing situation. You don't want them to necessarily show up at your house because the ongoing situation may be right next door. And I think there's a lot of value to having our own personnel, our own dispatchers to serve that purpose. Once again, we're just cutting jobs out to save money. And I'm going to be against that because I believe that we have value in our dispatchers.
I don't totally disagree with Mr. Eads, but as far as, if I could clarify, there will be during extended business hours, as I call it, not the normal government 8 to 4, but could be a little 4-8, and then later in the evening, for those people there that will try and have a receptionist there. That's part of the plan was that we'd still hire
But as of today, that's not really approved yet, is it?
No, I believe the job descriptions, then through civil service, they accepted that. For all the recent updates in the job descriptions for the police department went through civil service. Still checking with the law director to see whether that has to be in the ordinance form through council also. That we haven't hired them or even approved the salary ranges, I know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's up for third reading. What are council's wishes?
Make a motion to vote on it?
Second.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
No.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 113-25 has passed. On for a second reading, ordinance 119-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 119-25, sponsored by Brent McDaniels, an ordinance amending 881 of the codified ordinances.
Yes, so in February, I tried to get the 0.5% income tax credit back for the people who work outside of London. Tried to bring it through finance and wasn't successful, so I had to bring new legislation, and it had to be different. So I was going to bring a new for a 0.25% credit, and the law director reached out, sent this, thought it might be a little smoother, easier just to amend where they took it back during COVID of 2020 when they took it back. And I guess I'll have more on it in the third reading.
Any questions or concerns on this?
Yeah, Mr. President. So even in today's documents for 119.25, it says section 1, this section, or that section 881.081 of the codified ordinances shall be amended effective January 21, 26 to read as follows. So I question this because that section itself was only a credit against if you took a loss that you could take the credit. I didn't think that was the intent of this. So left on my desk, and I don't know that anybody else had a copy of this, I didn't see any, left on my desk today was the ordinance, and it says that it's actually going to change, according to this, section 881.012C as in Charles. And if you look that up, it is not the section that I thought that was. If you look that up, it just says an annual tax for the purposes defined in Division A of this section shall be imposed at a rate of 1% per annum, and then they're going to add this to that section so that it would allow someone to have a credit if they work outside of the city and pay to another municipality. So there's been a correction to this. I don't see the correction, though, on the paperwork here, that it should just say 881.012C. If that needs to be amended, I so move that we amend it so we have the proper section in there.
Second.
Councilman Stahl for the amendment.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer.
Yes.
There's been several typos now on that since I've been looking into this. They had 2 on mine.
Okay, it has been amended. Any further discussion on this? Okay. On to Resolution 126-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 126-25, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for 4 pickleball courts. And since Andrew's not here, Mr. Castle.
This is just to, again, authorize me to go out and advertise for bid. We did receive bids last year. It is a quite lengthy process for them to get back. I think Landon said it took probably months before he got some of the bids back, so it's a lengthy process. We just don't know how much the cost has increased. The site has been moved down to Park Avenue, so we don't know if that's going to have any effect in the cost of the project or not. So that's why we want to put it out to bid. We'd like to get this put out so we can, again, it's a lengthy process. We were hoping to get it done this year, but we don't get the bids in and get the stuff back to council to see if you want to approve it or not. Probably won't get it again this year.
And this is just to advertise.
Just to advertise,
Right.
it's not to enter into contract.
Right.
It's just for us to get prices.
We're at the end of March, April, May. Make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule on it.
Second.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
No.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl.
Yes. Move to adopt.
Second.
No. Do we have enough suspension?
Is it 2/3 that you need?
It's 2/3, yeah, we have enough.
Thought if you had two, you couldn't do it.
I think
We
in the
only have
past,
one
We
now.
only had one.
There's one not here, he didn't get to vote. He
Right.
counts as a no because he's
So-
not here.
No, it just doesn't count as a vote.
Right, so it's still,
Okay.
I think Mr. Castle's correct in past practices.
When they're not here, it counts as a no, doesn't it?
In past practices, I believe that's how that has happened.
Yep. So. Unless somebody, I'm eager to entertain a correction. I'd love to be corrected and for it to move ahead, but
Okay.
let's look it up.
I would like to state that it was addressed at the service committee if there was any council members that had any problems with this project, and nobody brought anything up, so evidently that was not a correct statement either.
There's too much info.
I think in the past, I think when we went to a percentage is when we had an open seat. But when we've had a full slate of council members, whether they're here or not,
Yep, that's, you're right on that. Okay. So 126-25 will stay.
I do have a question for Mr. Castle, though. I know when we discussed it at some point, if we get these bids, we're also going to need an all-in cost if there was discussion to expand the parking lot and have to put in lighting.
Yeah, I think all those additions would be under the threshold of 77,000, so we don't really have to put those out to bid.
Right, we
But
may not
yes,
have
we
to
will
put
get
those
those.
out to bid, but I think we'd
Yeah.
like to know what the all-in cost
Correct.
is
We will have that.
for this, not just for the part that has to be bid.
Yeah, we'll have that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, on to new business, Resolution 127-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 127-25, sponsored by Greg Eads. Resolution adopting the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council.
So the Tax Incentive Review Council meets every year to go over those businesses which we're giving some type of a tax abatement to for the work that they've done. They need to verify that they have met their part of the agreement, that they've employed the people they said they were going to, that they're still in business, all of those items. We have 4 that went before the Tax Incentive Review Committee, otherwise known as the Turk, Elite Fitness, Nissan, Sovereign Village, and whatever name we're going to use for the Westwood Collective, the Main Street Collective, doing businesses, Hartzler's Ice Cream, and also Castle's Hair and Nail Studio. Those were listed on there. I'll ask the auditor I'll ask the auditor, I gave her a heads up, I might ask her if she'd like to share any information about this.
According to their reports, the city's recommendation would be to continue them. They're all complying with what they promised us for the TIF agreement.
And we have a timeline, is that correct?
Correct. It has to be, our recommendation is that you guys would suspend and pass and get it passed this evening so that David Kell can get his end of it. I believe it has to be passed within 30 days.
Right, and the committee met when?
March 7th?
March 7th. So
Correct.
whether or not we would suspend tonight, we would need to by the next meeting. However, they've done their due diligence in having the paperwork sent out, and an email was sent from the law director showing us that paperwork. Everybody was in compliance. I don't know if I said it, but Nissan, I believe, has ended at this point.
Correct.
They're-
This was their
they're-
last year reporting, but they've fallen off, yeah.
Right, okay.
Did you mention that has to be reported to the state by the 31st?
Well, it's actually in April. April, what'd you say?
I
No,
believe,
it says
David, it was
April
30 days,
7th.
so I think, we met March 7th, but I thought David said it had to be past this council meeting
Okay.
It's in here.
in order to comply.
Okay, well, I have no objections to suspending the rules, 3 reading rule.
I'll second it.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 127-25 has passed. On to Resolution 128-25. Take a motion to read by title number.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 128-25, sponsored by Brent McDaniels, a resolution authorizing the advertisement for bids for personal property no longer needed for city purposes.
And it's self-explanatory, so they can get rid of some no longer needed equipment and property.
Right, we replaced the Durapatcher with a much newer, more expensive model.
I did that.
Yeah, currently they have on the list the zero-turn mower and then the Durapatcher.
Is that all the equipment they have at this point they need to get rid of?
Mention. No hoarding problems then.
Any other questions? Would you guys like to keep this on?
Let me look at it. Turns red.
I don't think it was a hurry. I don't think it was a hurry.
Okay.
He didn't say it was a hurry, did he?
Okay.
On to Resolution 129-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 129-25, sponsored by Andrew Hitt. A resolution increasing appropriations, the Third Ward Storm Water Project.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier in my other report, while they're doing the work on this project, they found two, I believe, concrete culverts they want to replace, or whatever the correct word is for that. It's in conjunction with what they're doing right now, or catch basins. They're already there right now to replace those and do some other work around that site. I believe they've asked for a $50,000 increase out of the stormwater fund, which I believe has over $1 million in it. There is an emergency on this because he'd like to get these ordered and get this done while they have the area open.
15,000 for 2 catch basins.
Are we 100% sure that people that sat in on that committee, I thought it was catch basins that he needed added. I don't think it's in the third ward, though, are they?
I don't think they're in the third ward.
You don't think they're in the third ward?
I don't remember how they got it.
Well, then we can correct that. That was my impression. We were talking about that at the finance meeting.
It's for
that
the
this was
stormwater fund,
in
right?
conjunction with the third ward because of stormwater.
No,
It's for
there's
stormwater.
two places in town that he's identified that needs catch basins. And the third ward project has basically encompassed all the monies that's been appropriated, so he wants a little bit of extra so he can get those done.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Well, you probably need to amend the legislation if it says that. Yeah.
I mean, to me, I'm reading it, Third Ward Stormwater Project is ongoing,
Yeah,
and there are projects that need completed, doesn't say,
Okay, so as long as it doesn't tie it to the third ward where he can get them done, I'm okay with it. It just kind of sounded like that we were putting it in the third ward.
Yeah, I don't think it was for the third ward.
Yeah.
It does say third ward.
Yeah, can we take the third ward out of, amend it and take that third ward out? I don't want to get that snared by a technicality or something.
Hey, Lisa, you want to try on an
Well,
amendment?
that's, yeah.
Huh? You want to make an amendment?
Sure.
Okay, let's hear it.
I move to amend by removing the mention of the repair being done in the third ward.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll second that.
You started it.
You did good.
okay, Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels.
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
We're going to suspend first.
I'm sorry. It's been a long night. Motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
John's on top of it.
Second.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yep.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yep.
Councilwoman Trainer.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 129-25 has passed. On to Resolution 130-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 130-25, sponsored by Lisa Jackman. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for trash hauling services. Lisa, do you know what this is for?
It's just to advertise for bids for hauling the trash away from the dump.
If this is something I want to say we do this
Yes.
every 2 or 3 years. Rex, do we do the trash hauling advertise every 2 years?
See, it's my understanding we typically just get one bid.
Historically, that's all we've gotten. We hope
Hmm.
to get more.
Yes.
It's always
Registration for contractors. The rest of it's my note for me.
kind of like mine.
When's this contract up?
I think it's August.
Okay.
We just want to get it.
Perfect.
This was the legislation.
Any other discussion on this resolution? Okay. On to ordinance 131-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 131-25, sponsored by John Stahl, an ordinance amending section 209 of the codified ordinances.
The charge for preparing law enforcement video records shall be the annual cost of preparing the video record for inspection or production, not to exceed $75 per hour, and not to exceed $7,550 total per video requested. Actual costs include all costs related to reviewing, blurring, or otherwise obscuring, redating, uploading, or producing the video records, including but not limited to the storage medium on which the record is produced, staff time, and any other relevant overhead necessary to comply with the request.
So I believe this this follows state law that's been changed. And was that a maximum at the state law level too of $75 per hour?
And up to 750 per event, yes.
How often do you get video requests?
I believe what spurred this at the state level is there's a lot of YouTubers, bloggers, and people that will send, and we receive them also, they'll send a request for videos relating to any resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, drunk driving, type events that might spur people's interest, and then they obtain all these videos and produce a show for it for profit on their channel. The idea is that it takes quite a bit of effort on law enforcement's part to find the videos, weed them out, and comply with these requests. And so I think that's what spurred most of this. And I know we've discussed it with the Central Iowa Chiefs Association, and everybody's on the same page. We want to make sure and comply with this law and take advantage, because it does take a lot of time. And generally, public records requests, you're only charging for the medium that is utilized. This allows us to charge and actually get some time back for the people that have to make the videos.
Is it usually only YouTubers that are requesting by way of public records these kind of videos?
That amount of videos, usually it's, if there's an event, any notable event in the community, we usually try and get those videos out because you're going to get news channels requesting. Then there's also, on the criminal end, the discovery process that make the videos for, but that's generally what we get for the First Amendment seekers that want to just see what videos they can, and what they can make out of them.
Are we going to charge news stations?
Yeah, if it's a regular request or just generic video, yes. Generally what happens is on some of the events, like we have a real popular event or there's some notable event, that we'll try and make those videos available on our YouTube channel, that they'll have a link to them and then anybody can see it.
Without charge?
Yeah, usually that's how we've been proceeding in the past, but if you're sending in a request for notice with a disorderly conduct arrest, that's not really, that taxpayers should have to pay for that company to stop. Is that clear up, just make it
Nope, I follow it.
Okay, any other questions? Concerns? Okay, on to ordinance 132-25. Can I get a motion, read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 132-25, sponsored by Brent McDaniels, An ordinance amending section 1446 of the codified ordinances.
And this is to increase the license fees for contractors working inside of London. Oh, yeah, it's going from 25 to 100. Everything's going up.
With this being raised, are they going to extend their hours?
No,
Fair question.
no.
Fair question.
That
Mr.
is
President,
still a reasonable fee, though.
And that's what Grove City charges them. He's doing it today.
And
Mr.
this,
President,
Yes.
I'd like to discuss a few points. It's the first time I've seen this, and I think the Safety Service Director, and I could have a further discussion on this, but I'll bring up my points right now. Looking at just above that section where I gave the price, I'm more concerned about under 1A, a certificate of liability insurance, the amount of not less than $100,000 per person and $300,000 per occurrence for bodily injury and $50,000 per accident for property damage. And it says except automobile. Well, this is really an automobile thing. And first of all, secondly, I believe the numbers are too low. I think it's probably more standard in the industry if you insure a contractor to have a minimum of $300,000, and it's really common if these contractors do work for someone else that they have to carry $1 million worth of liability insurance. So for us to just say $100,000 seems very antiquated. That's the first part of that. The second part of that is it's also, we could probably clean up the language so that it's not biased towards one or the other, because it says by reason of any negligence on the part of himself or his agents. We can probably clean that up in today's world so that it's not that way. And then when we get down to the bottom part of this, provision will be made by the contractor to have his insurance company give the city at least 15 days of prior written notice in the event of cancellation. Well, how do you give prior written notice when the policy is being canceled, right? So you're not going to get the notice until it's canceled. I also think, along these same lines, the city should be added as an additional insured, as a political subdivision, and that and a complete addition to this is that we should require bonds of the contractors if they fail to complete the work. Right now, if someone fails to complete the work, they go in, they get some money, they do half a job, and they walk away. There is no way to come back on them unless you go to small claims court after them personally. But if you have a bond that's in favor of the city, if someone does that, someone can make a claim against the bond. The city gets the money, but they could then distribute that to the person who did not have the work completed, and they're out their money. Those are my suggestion points. I'll be happy to email these to the law director if she wants to add those and discuss these with Safety Service Director if he has any questions or objections to what I've just said.
What's coincidence, signing up our company today with Grove City. Grove City's $300,000 on their COIs.
For a minimum?
Yep, their minimum. $15,000 bond,
Okay.
and then you also got to fill out a RETA tax form.
Do you think the $100 is going to be a big enough fee?
And Grove City charges $100, so it's probably the standard fee is what they're,
So you think 100 will be enough?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
We can discuss this. I'm not totally disagreeing with what Ms. Councilman Eads brought up. I will say that there is probably a large number that we've tried to get to sign up as contractors, which are very small entities. So I don't know what this would do to those. Probably cause them not to register. So just throw that out there too. And that was brought up when we initially brought this forward on council. It was encompassing everybody, even the small and the large, and we was trying to not make it too cost prohibitive for the small people, the lawn care people, things of that nature. But we can discuss it.
That's what insurance does, right, Greg?
Well, honestly, the $300,000 is pretty much the minimum anymore, so I don't think that's going to be much of a cost difference for anybody.
I do know that Grove City's contractor list, like, is a lot smaller than this. Yeah, I mean, I know they didn't have commercial snow removal in there and lawn care, or, I don't believe, I'll double check.
So I'm not going to move to amend these just yet, but I would like to leave it on so
Yep.
we can get a little bit further information. If we want to make an amendment, we can do it all at once instead of coming back and hitting again.
Any other questions on this? Okay, on to Resolution 133-25. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 133-25, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract for construction and related services.
Okay, I'll take it. Let me scroll down to that real quick. So we have bond money. So this is how things were explained to me the other day. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and everybody knows this. The bond money we have in our hands, we have work that we'd like to get done. We're going to start to pay for that out of the bond money we have. The $5,025,000, we'll get it right. The $5,025,000 that has been supposedly put into the budget for the city has not come to us yet. And I don't know if anybody else is starting to feel a little worried whether or not that's going to get canceled. So what I would like to know is, do we have any assurances lately that, because I've seen where they've taken money out of, I believe, the USDA, when that's where this money's coming from. And I believe they've canceled some things that were coming through there. So now I would really hate to say I don't want to build the building because I'm all for it. But we may be faced $5 million of debt that we're not expecting to take on. And I don't know that if we would have taken the debt on if we were faced with the entire debt right now, right, at $9 million, where we had $5 million free, or 55% of the cost was free. Mr. Castle, do you have any updates or?
The update I would give you is that's why we're trying to move full speed ahead and get this wrapped up, just in case such a thing might happen, because it was put on hold several months ago, and then that was lifted or rescinded, so the funds were available again. And I certainly hope this goes through, the amount of work that we're having to do to get it. It's something new. Every week we have a meeting. It's another 5-6 forms and documents we got to fill out. So we're trying to do everything and expedite it expedite the process as much as we can.
What are we going to do, out of curiosity, what are we going to do if 3 months from now, federal government changes their mind, we still don't have the money, and they said, we're canceling it?
From what I understand, once we get to the phase where it's committed, it's committed. He can't retract it, or I shouldn't say he can't, probably has, but less likely it'll be canceled. It has to move through a few phases. It has to get to the Treasury Department, and I'm thinking it's at the Treasury Department now. Then from the Treasury Department, it gets transferred to USDA and put under deposit under our name for available draws, of which we would do. So I'm pretty sure we're within less than a month of having that process completed.
And as a promise to our bond in Dinsmore, we had a promise that if they had the same concerns, if we don't get the grant money, what does that look like for the city moving forward? And we essentially would build a $4,090,000 building instead of a $9 million building.
Okay. Didn't know that was an option. We might have went with that to begin with.
Well, it wasn't, but
I don't want to do that because Glenn's has to share offices with me if we do that.
Might as well, till it's given away too.
I did see that Elford put this out bid.
Oh, did they? Okay.
They are starting to, I mean, at least they're starting to shop around for prices already.
Which we've already agreed to pay them some money, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
In previous legislation, we've already moved forward with that so they can start to move forward with this process.
Yeah.
So we do have an emergency clause on there so they could start to bid this out as soon as possible.
Yeah. Alfred has gone through their calculations and so forth. They're supposed to come up with what's called a GMP, gross maximum price. They give me a ballpark figure. That's why I kind of cushioned it a little bit so that we can get that all encompassed. As soon as they get that, we sign the documents, they'll forward it to USDA to get that process continued on.
So we may be on the hook with this for a couple $100,000 at $9.3 million in this document that this says.
What's the maximum price?
This says not to exceed $9.3 million.
Their estimate is like what is it, Glenn? 9.18, something like that. It's like a little less than $9.2 million, so I cushioned it by 100,000. So.
Just want everybody to be aware.
And that's including contingencies, of course. You put contingencies in there because you may encounter them, and then, of course, they're going to tell you they hope not to. So there's probably several $100,000 worth of contingencies in that figure also. One of which was architectural contingencies, and they feel like very confident they're not going to need to tap into that. So.
So who wants to build a police station? Rich?
Everybody wants a police station.
Everybody wants a police station. I'll make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule on it.
Second.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl.
Yes, move to adopt.
Second.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 133-25 has passed. On to Resolution 134-25. Can I get a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 134-25, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, a resolution determining that the establishment of the London Gateway New Community Authority will be conducive to public safety, convenience, and welfare, and is intended to result in the development of a new community authority to be organized in a body politic and corporate, and defining the boundary of the new community district.
So the new community authority would be titled the London Gateway New Community Authority. It encompasses both districts, both the commercial and the residential, some 1,100 acres. There's been similar legislation that was passed that basically was a preliminary piece that determined that their petition for the creation of this gateway was sufficient, and this is the first reading of the actual creation of that community authority. It works hand in hand with the establishment of the TIF, in that a lot of the parcels subject to the new community authority would make service payments in lieu of taxes. Those dollars can be directed in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code under the TIF, specifically to pay for the cost of the infrastructure for those new communities, but also for some of the other developments, whether it falls under the TIF or whether it falls more specifically to the benefit of the community itself.
So a couple things. If you read through the whole 228 pages we got months ago, you might remember a few things. One of the things is basically ORC states that the city shall name 4 people of the 7-person board. That's written right into ORC. How that's done is a little bit up to us. I think most places have just the city council has done 4 names. Whether that was 4 names that they put forward or 4 names, that may have been brought forward by someone else, being the administration or the school or someone else like that. So that's been a slight change. One of the things that we discussed, I don't see it here, and I don't know if it's in the other document and that was, there were, I won't say promises, but there were discussions made that the city could benefit from this, because if you remember, an NCA will impose millage basically on each property within that area. And the first discussions we had, the city was going to benefit from that. It wasn't in that language. It was brought up to the law director, who mentioned it to the development team. Mr. Smith came in and said, we've heard what you said. We're going to add this for 20% for the city. I'm not sure where that is. And that 20% was supposed to be used for purposes of safety forces. Is that correct, Mr. Smith? I'm not sure where that language is, but I know that it's supposed to exist. I just don't see it right here, right now, if it's supposed to be in this or not. It should be in this document right here. I don't see that. And I think performance bonds, I don't think that was in the original document. So I don't see the 20% that's in there. There was also a discussion, do we have to do it for safety forces? I'll let you know that I've talked to both chiefs. Neither one said we have to do it just for safety forces. If we decided to do it for, just to put it into our capital improvements, we could also do that. But I don't think there was any real objection to the safety forces. I felt that I had read that it could not be used for operations of safety forces. It was going to have to be for more capital needs. Buying cruisers and helping build buildings and buy fire trucks and things. However, the law director recently let me know that that's not true, that we can use that for operational costs also.
So there should be, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be attached here, but the actual agreement governing the NCA, this is just the resolutions.
Okay.
Sponsoring it. So if we're supposed to have that attachment that had all those specifics in there, maybe just missed this email. It's pretty lengthy as it is.
It's all right to clarify. The tips cannot be utilized for operations. The NCA can be utilized for operations.
Well, I don't know that we had that language in the TIFs in the same way that we did for the NCA.
The tips that is for Ohio Vice President.
Yeah, we didn't have any carve-outs on the TIF. It was only on the, these particular payments.
Well, we didn't have a carve out, but there was still, in the TIFs that we still have on our 9th reading, I mean, that, there's language in there right there that says that there is, if there's funds left over, those are for the city's benefit to use. Without a carve-out, that's already involved in that.
Right.
However, that works out in the long run.
Yeah, but the funds specific in the NCA were the percentage of proceeds.
Yeah.
Rex?
Eve just questioned, she believes she sees a date on there, dated December 5th, 2025.
I did see that.
Yeah,
It needs to
so
be
if it-
2024. So it's just a typo, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to the extent this particular resolution does reference the, there were several attachments to that former resolution that included the NCA agreement, that included a lot of the descriptions regarding its economic benefit, anticipated jobs created, and all this other kind of thing. Those would be adopted by reference, presumably.
And then I would also ask Ms. Breedlove if she would help us, Mr. President, if this is, I'm asking if this is what you would like, since we need names for people that may be interested for city council to put forth. I don't know, I mean, you see that there's a spot here. I don't know that we have to put those names in immediately, or should we, or we can add those later, come back and add those later, but we might want to put something out that kind of describes what a member of the NCA board would have as responsibilities, and see if anybody wants to volunteer. If you notice, there is some language in here how it's going to be set up, that they'll have staggered terms. And I like that. I wish council had staggered terms, to tell you the truth. But if we can get anything on the website and maybe social media that this is coming forward, and we do have, we're going to be looking for people that are interested in this, and maybe we'll have an interview process like we did for the council seat, or maybe we won't. I don't know.
Well, I think probably get with Matt as well,
Okay,
go from there.
okay. Do we need to amend the date while we're talking about it?
Yeah.
And then I'll move that we amend the date in the second section that says whereas on December 5th, 2025, just to reflect December 5th, 2024.
Second.
Is that true?
Yep.
Okay, it was 24, okay. Because I know the discussions started well before that, too, so I just want to make sure that date's
Second.
right. So,
I'll second that motion.
I think heard Brent second it.
Oh, dang, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's late.
It is.
You got to speak up sometimes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes.
It has been amended. Any other discussion?
I think we're anticipating it staying on for second reading.
Yep.
On to roundtable. Greg?
Well, first thing, I'm glad we got that ironed out with the Strawberry Festival Committee, so everybody can be happy with the way things operate moving forward, I hope. Secondly, finance meeting, I believe I didn't bring this up earlier, we scheduled for April the 14th, 5:30 PM, is that correct?
Yes.
Kenna, everybody, okay. Just making sure I didn't bring that up earlier. And third, just so you know, Councilwoman Jackman, you'll probably never get a chance to motion to adopt. If we suspend something, they jump right on it, you'll never get a chance. You've got to be really quick.
By the email.
Like basically, when you're talking, just right then say, I move to adopt, because you'll never get a chance. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Brent?
Yeah, big shout out to the London Fire Department, sanitation, street department, police department, on and on. Have a good evening. Thanks for coming out.
Rich?
I'm glad I brought a tall Coke tonight. Shout out to all of our city employees, especially fire department. We had a huge fire the other morning on Lincoln Street, and we've had several here recently. But thank God we got a good fire department. Police department works good with them. We've got good mutual aid, and I'm just thankful that everything worked out the way it did, and nobody was hurt or injured that I know of. And same for all of our other city employees. I want to thank them for jobs well done. Glad we got the Strawberry Festival straightened out, set. Thank my council members. It's been a long evening, but got a lot of things done tonight. I think we're moving right along, and city's moving along, and hopefully we'll get this police department start moving some dirt here in May and start getting that bad boy up, and sooner the better. And I just ask the Lord to keep watching over our city, keep us well, keep us all safe, and just keep blessing our city. That's all I got.
Thank you. Shannon?
We're here. We've been here long enough. Yes.
John?
I just thank everybody for coming, a lot of interesting questions and all that. I have a question for Rex, though. How long is Center Street going to be closed, or how far? They put signs all up and down the street today.
Unfortunately,
60 days.
60 days. We're cut off from Maple or Lincoln or where? I go that way all the time, so I'm curious.
I believe it's from Lincoln to Main Street.
Okay, thank you. People's been asking, I didn't know what to tell them. What's those signs with those covers on them? That's all I keep getting. Thank you. And thanks to everybody for the help at the festival. Thank you. That's all.
Lisa? Okay. I get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
We don't need a second.
Yeah. Just thinking.
You're on time.
You say?
Yeah.